Hello, Wojciech here. Welcome to my step-by-step HDR workflow tutorial. Okay, in the last part I showed you how we can process blue-hour shots. Today I would like to show you how to process golden hour shots. Okay. Today I have 7 exposures I took in Madrid near Debod Temple, which is pretty interesting place because these ruins were moved from Egypt, in fact, as a gift for Spanish help in Egypt. I took 7 exposures because I wanted both highlights and shadows to be properly exposed. And as you can see in 0 EV photo, shadows are very dark. Brightening them up would result in a lot of noise. Also, I think that highlights here in this building area aren't as beautifully preserved as I would like them to be. Okay, so the first thing I will do is to adjust some basic settings in Lightroom. First of all, let's adjust white balance. Let's use daylight. It's more similar to what I remember. Previous white balance was way too warm. I will just increase tint a little bit to make it purpler. Just a little bit to 14 from 10. And temperature to 5600 Kelvins, okay? And then let's move to lens corrections tab and check enable profile corrections and remove chromatic aberrations to remove vignetting, distortion, and chromatic aberrations. Finally, we need to sync our settings. So all the photos share the same settings. Let's click on the sync button. Make sure all your changes you made are checked. And let's click on the synchronize button. Okay, now I will export my images to Photomatix Pro. Export Photomatix Pro. I will align images because despite the fact I use tripod most of the time, sometimes even this doesn't guarantee perfect alignment. I won't show options to remove ghosts because I know there aren't any ghosts in the image. I will check reduce noise, but make sure that I use underexposed images only option. It will save me some time. I don't need other settings like all source images because I shot at ISO 100, so I don't expect a lot of noise in the image. There might be a little bit in the sky, for instance, as always, even at ISO 100. And I will reduce chromatic aberrations because I discovered that the best results in reducing chromatic aberrations are when I combine both Lightroom's and Photomatix Pro's settings for that. Okay, so let's hit export button. Now will take some time to export images because they are pretty large raw files from 5D Mark II camera. Okay, Lightroom already exported images. They are now being opened in Photomatix. Reducing noise also takes some time, so please be patient. Now images are being aligned. As you remember, I checked this option because there might be a little bit of misalignment even when shooting from a tripod. Now HDR image is being created, and finally chromatic aberrations are being reduced. Okay, and here is Photomatix Pro window. As you can see, as a method, I have contrast optimizer selected. This option wasn't available in 4.7 version of Photomatix Pro, but it became available since beta of Photomatix Pro 5. It's available in this beta just below Details Enhancer. Okay, so let's select. Basically, the image looks good. It's natural, it has contrast, it's clean. What I don't like is that blacks are a little bit too dark, so let's drag black clip slider to around 0.8. And now let's compare with 3.0. Okay, the difference is pretty big. Okay, I will also increase midtone's brightness way too much to 1.8, let's say. Okay, I will also decrease white clip slider a little bit to make the whites a little darker, not too much though. Okay, and I'm pretty happy with the results, so let's click on the Save and Reimport button. In a few seconds, our image will appear in Lightroom. Okay, let's wait for our image a few seconds. And the image is here. It looks pretty nice and also pretty natural. Let's compare it with the zero EV photo from our bracketed sequence. It's the zero EV photo and its tone mapped image. Okay, they are pretty similar, but the tone mapped image preserves details in shadows and highlights much better. This part, which was way too dark, and this part, which was also way too dark, is now properly exposed. Also, building, which was a bit too bright, is now correctly exposed as well. I will now go to Photoshop to make final adjustments there, but before that I will use one more small adjustment in Lightroom. It's upright tool. As you can maybe see, the horizon isn't leveled perfectly. It's a bit off, so I will correct using upright tool. Let's click on auto, and it's fixed. It looks okay. All these distortions are also fixed at the same time. Okay, so now let's go to Photoshop by right-clicking on the image, selecting Editing, and adding it in Adobe Photoshop CC. Now I have warning of different color spaces. I normally use sRGB because I upload my images to the web, but I like to edit my images in Adobe RGB. So let's use the embedded profile for now, which is Adobe RGB, and I will convert to sRGB just before uploading my image online. Okay, so let's click OK. First thing I do is to examine if there is any noise that needs reducing. Noise is often in the sky areas, but as you can see, there isn't much noise. I don't see any, in fact. So I'm pretty happy. Let's go back to 25%. Okay, now, first I will increase clarity of the photos. I recently used Topaz Clarity to do that because it's a really game changer. I mean, this filter really adds a great pop to the images. So I will duplicate my layer by selecting layer, duplicate layer. I'm doing this because I don't like working on background layer. I like to be able to go back to the beginning of my processing. Let's name it clarity. Okay, now let's go to filter, Topaz Labs, Topaz Clarity. If you don't have Topaz Clarity, you can download a free trial from Topaz Labs website. Topaz Clarity is basically more advanced version of Clarity Slider you might saw in Lightroom or Adobe Camera Raw. Instead of one slider though, there are 4 sliders that increase clarity, change clarity in Topaz Clarity filter. You have to experiment a little bit, but I might tell you that I basically use micro contrast and low contrast because they are what I think clarity really is. Medium contrast and high contrast are more about increasing contrast. Okay, you can see that the contrast is increased. The clarity is also increased, but contrast is changed in a very noticeable way. If you want to reset any of the settings to its default, just double click on the slider's name. Okay, it's useful. Okay, so I will play a little bit with micro contrast and low contrast. first let's zoom in a little bit to 25%, and let's increase micro contrast. Okay, let's leave it at 0.22 and play with low contrast maybe. Okay, you can compare before and after by displaying images side by side. Okay, the difference is huge in my opinion, but you can also click on the original button at any moment to see your before image. And now click on the process to see after. You can also use space to do that. Click on space key and hold it to see before, and leave it to see after. Before and after. The difference is huge. What I don't like much is that the trees here, which were properly exposed, are now a bit too dark. Same here. It was properly exposed, there were some details, but now there is some black mainly. Okay, we have few options. First, we can try to decrease medium contrast and high contrast, and it helps a little bit if I decrease it to, let's say, minus 0.45. But we can also go to histogram, check if it isn't clipped. It's just a little bit clipped on the black side, so let's brighten them just slightly. Okay, it's better, although it's still not perfect. However, you can use black level and white level to avoid clipping the histogram on a black side or white side. You can also play with midtones. Okay, but final adjustment I can make is to got rid of clarity effect on the trees at all. So I expanded masks section, as you could see. I have hide option checked, hide mode checked. Strength, let's decrease it slightly. Brush size, let's make it smaller. Okay, and make sure edge aware is selected and paint over the trees like this. Okay, the layer is painted here. I will also decrease influence of effect here because it's still too dark. This edge aware feature works pretty well. Let's remove the effect here and here as well. Okay, let's compare how it looked without the mask. Okay, the mask enabled me to remove the effect from some portions of the image. Okay, let's click OK. I'm happy with the results now. Okay, it's before and it's after. The clarity filter made a really big difference. Okay. Next, normally I use luminosity masks, but as it is quite complex workflow and I haven't introduced it yet, I will show you how to finish this image using Topaz Adjust tool. So duplicate your layer again by going to Layer menu or by clicking Ctrl J or Command J if you're on Mac. Let's name the layer Adjust. And let's go to Filter, Topaz, Adjust. And let's try some classic collection. Brilliant Worm. Well, in fact, it looks pretty interesting to me. Let's go to Global Adjustments, Color. As you can see, there are some weird tones here. So let's try to decrease adaptive saturation a little bit. And not that much, maybe. Okay, and I quite like it. So let's click on the OK button. Okay, let's maybe decrease opacity a little bit to make the effect a little weaker. Before, after, before, after. Image looks pretty nice. Final adjustment I will make to this image is to sharpen it a little bit. So first go to 100% zoom. Duplicate your layer by clicking Ctrl J again. Let's name it sharpening. Let's change opacity to 100. Okay, now change blending mode to overlay. Go to filter, other, and high pass. High pass sharpening is a pretty effective and non-destructive ways of sharpening your image. I use it quite a lot. In fact, for most of my recent images, I sometimes use other methods of sharpening. Okay. High pass sharpening is basically about using high pass filter and using a small radius, like 1 or 2. When the radius is too high, there are some nasty halo artifacts, and the image doesn't look really good at all. So let's use radius of 2 for now, and let's click on the OK button. It's after and it's before. The difference is huge. After, before, after, before. Okay. Now let's zoom out. It's before and after. Also, we can finally compare how our image looked initially before making all the adjustments. Just alt-click on your background layer. It was before and it's after. Before, after. The difference is huge. And I hope you enjoyed this short workflow tutorial. Next time, I hope to show you how to use luminosity masks on your HDR images. Thanks for watching, and until next time.